The sky of Zetheria was a swirl of colors, painted with purple clouds and golden streaks of light that came from the planet's twin suns. From high above, the planet looked beautiful and calm, but on the surface, the royal city was buzzing with whispers and quiet ridicule. Princess Liara walked through the crystal-lined halls of the palace, her hands lightly brushing the polished walls as she moved. She could not see the glittering towers or the alien crowds that watched her every step, but she knew they were there. She had grown up knowing the cruel words that followed her everywhere. Being blind in a world where sight was the most valued gift made her life lonely. The other aliens whispered behind her back. They laughed quietly when she stumbled or asked for guidance. Nobles who sought to marry the princess avoided her. Who would marry someone who cannot see, they said. Even the ones who spoke kindly often treated her like a child. Liara felt their rejection like a shadow over her heart. She tried to hide her sadness with a calm face, but deep down, she longed for someone who would see her for who she really was. One morning, a new sound disturbed the usual quiet of the palace. A ship had landed in the central plaza, and it was unlike anything the Zytherians had seen. Its silver hull reflected the twin suns, and its engines hummed with a rhythm that seemed alive. Curious voices filled the streets. Aliens of all ranks gathered to watch, their eyes wide with fascination and suspicion. Princess Liara, guided by her servant's hand, made her way to the plaza. She listened to the sounds and the murmurs of the crowd, sensing the excitement and tension in the air. The ship's hatch opened, and humans stepped out. They were unlike any creature Liara had met before. Taller than most Zytherians, with different skin tones and clothes that seemed strange and bulky, they walked confidently among the aliens. One human in particular caught her attention, though she could not see him. She sensed something in his voice and the way he carried himself. Captain Ethan Carter, as she would later learn his name, moved with careful steps, observing everything around him, asking questions with a polite tone. Unlike the aliens, he did not treat her as weak or strange. The first meeting between Ethan and Liara happened by chance. She had wandered toward the outer balcony of the palace gardens, guided by the sound of the fountains and the scent of flowers. A sudden gust of wind made her lose balance, and she stumbled dangerously close to the edge. A strong hand caught her just in time. "Are you okay?" the human asked, his voice calm but firm. Liara's heart raced. She had not expected anyone, especially not a human, to reach her before she fell. I'm fine," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Thank you." "You shouldn't be out here alone," Ethan replied. "It's dangerous." For the first time in her life, Liara felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the twin suns. She sensed that this human did not judge her for being blind. He spoke to her as if she were capable, strong, and smart. That moment planted a tiny seed of hope in her heart. The days that followed were full of tension. The alien court watched closely as Ethan and Liara spent time together. He asked her questions about her life, her thoughts, and her world. He listened with genuine interest, laughing when she told jokes and showing admiration for her clever ideas. The other aliens were shocked. They whispered among themselves, unable to understand why this human, who should be inferior in every way according to their standards, was treating the blind princess with such respect. Liara began to trust Ethan more with each passing day. She found herself talking about things she had never shared with anyone. She spoke about her frustrations, her dreams, and her desire to prove herself despite her blindness. Ethan encouraged her, giving her ideas for new projects and helping her practice ways to move safely through the palace and city. Then came the day of the ceremonial flight, an important event for the Zytherian royal family. Princesses and noble heirs were expected to demonstrate their skills in controlling the sky gliders, sleek floating vehicles that could reach incredible speeds. Liara had never been allowed to participate fully because of her blindness. But this year she insisted on trying, determined to prove that she could do more than people thought. Ethan accompanied her to the platform, where the royal gliders awaited. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, a hint of concern in his voice. "I have to try," she said firmly. "I can't let them decide what I am without seeing what I can do." The other nobles laughed when they saw her step into the glider. They mocked her for daring to participate, saying she would fail and embarrass herself. But Liara ignored them. With Ethan's calm guidance, she learned how to control the glider's movements using sound signals and her heightened senses of touch and balance. As the ceremony began, something went wrong. One of the high-ranking nobles' gliders malfunctioned, and it veered dangerously close to Liara. The crowd gasped. The royal guards hesitated, unsure of how to react. Ethan's instincts took over. Without thinking, he leapt forward, catching Liara's glider and stabilizing it. In the chaos, he even managed to help the malfunctioning noble regain control. The aliens were stunned. A human, whom they considered weak, had saved the princess and outperformed their elite warriors. Whispers ran through the crowd. How could a human do what our strongest could not? Liara, though shaken, felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and admiration. She looked at Ethan, sensing his bravery and calmness. He had risked himself for her without hesitation. After the flight, the palace was filled with tension. The nobles were angry, some plotting in secret, while others began to see that perhaps the human was not so ordinary. Liara, for the first time, felt a spark of confidence. She realized that her blindness did not make her weak. It had taught her to rely on her other senses, to think creatively and to trust the right people. Ethan and Liara spent time together, exploring the city and learning from each other. He taught her about human technology, their ideas, and their ways of problem-solving. She taught him to listen carefully, to observe with senses beyond sight, and to respect different forms of intelligence. They became a team, each learning from the other, and slowly a bond grew that neither could ignore. But not everyone was happy. The alien court's gossip grew harsher. Some nobles openly insulted Liara and questioned Ethan's presence. A human cannot be worthy of our princess, they said. It is an insult to the royal bloodline. Others whispered about challenges they could arrange to prove that Liara and Ethan were unfit. Yet despite the growing opposition, Liara no longer felt alone. She had found someone who saw her for who she truly was, and that realization gave her courage. One evening, as the twin suns set and bathed the city in golden light, Liara and Ethan stood on a balcony overlooking the palace gardens. She stretched out her hand, feeling the warmth of the stone beneath her fingers, the cool breeze brushing against her face, and Ethan's steady presence at her side. "Why do you stay with me?" she asked softly. Ethan smiled. "Because I see you. Not just your blindness, not just your title, but you. You're smart, brave, and strong in ways no one else understands." "I respect that," Liara's heart swelled. She had longed to hear such words her entire life, but never thought anyone would say them. For the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, her life could change. As night fell, the palace lights twinkled like stars, and the city of Scytheria seemed alive with possibilities. Liara knew the challenges were far from over. The court would continue to oppose her, and her path with Ethan would not be easy. But for the first time, she felt hope, courage, and the strange, exciting possibility of love that could defy the galaxy's expectations. And so, the blind princess and the human captain stood together, ready to face whatever the universe would throw at them, unaware that their partnership would soon shake the very foundations of Scytherian society. The next morning, Scytheria buzzed with tension. News of Ethan's bravery had spread across the royal city, reaching even the most distant districts. Some whispered in awe, while others muttered in anger. The nobles were not ready to accept that a human, someone from a faraway planet, had shown courage greater than their own elite warriors. But Liara was undeterred. She had tasted what it felt like to be seen for who she really was, and she would not let anyone take that away. Ethan had remained at the palace, learning more about the alien culture and its complex politics. He listened carefully to their customs, trying to earn respect not by strength alone, but by showing intelligence, patience, and loyalty. The aliens watched him with suspicion, some even plotting ways to humiliate him. But Ethan did not waver. He wanted to protect Liara, not to compete with anyone. Liara, meanwhile, began training in secret. Though blind, she developed a way to sense movement, read vibrations through the ground, and detect energy flows in the city. Ethan guided her, combining human technology with her natural abilities. Together they worked on devices that would allow Liara to navigate her world more freely and defend herself if necessary. She became stronger, more confident, and more independent with each passing day. One afternoon, the Council of Nobles summoned Ethan. The room was filled with the most powerful figures in Scytheria, all staring at him with thinly veiled hostility. "You have been spending too much time with our princess," said one elder, his voice cold. "A human cannot hold her place. You dishonor our customs by daring to interfere in royal matters." Ethan stood tall, meeting their gazes without fear. "I am not here to dishonor anyone," he said calmly. "I am here because I care about Liara, and I want to see her succeed. She is capable of far more than anyone gives her credit for. I only wish to help her show that to the world." Some nobles scoffed, but a few were intrigued. They could see the truth in his words. Liara, standing quietly behind him, felt a surge of pride. For the first time, she realized that she was not powerless. She could stand tall, even among those who tried to keep her small. Tension escalated when a fleet of hostile alien ships appeared in the skies above Zytheria. They were from a neighboring system, known for raiding weaker planets for resources. The Zytherians had grown complacent, relying on their superior speed and strength to protect the planet. But this fleet was different, organized, cunning, and fast. Panic spread quickly. The council convened immediately. "We must defend the planet," they said. "Only our elite warriors can handle this." Ethan stepped forward. "We can do more than fight with strength alone. I have studied your technology, and with Liara's guidance we can create a plan that uses strategy, not just force. Together we can save the planet." Some nobles bristled at the idea, but there was no time for argument. Liara and Ethan worked quickly, combining human tactics with Zytherian technology. Liara's mind, trained to sense patterns without sight, proved invaluable. She could detect enemy movements through subtle energy shifts and vibrations in the ground. With Ethan coordinating, they devised a strategy that no alien had ever considered. The battle began at sunrise. Cytherian warriors launched into the skies with their gliders, ready to face the enemy. The hostile fleet fired powerful energy beams, but Liara and Ethan's plan was precise. Using hidden routes, traps, and coordinated attacks, they were able to confuse and outmaneuver the invaders. Ethan piloted alongside Liara, who guided him with her acute senses. She could see the battlefield in ways the aliens could not, predicting the enemy's movements and helping Zytherian forces strike at exactly the right moment. Slowly, the tide of battle turned. What had begun as a desperate defense became a brilliant counterattack. By the end of the day, the enemy fleet was defeated. The Zytherian city had survived, thanks to the combined intelligence and courage of a human and a blind princess. The nobles who had doubted them were forced to acknowledge their success. Some tried to hide their shame, while others could not resist expressing admiration. Liara stood on the balcony of the palace, listening to the cheering crowd below. She had faced prejudice, danger, and doubt, yet she had triumphed. Ethan joined her, his hand brushing against hers. She felt a warmth and strength in his presence that she had never known before. "You did it," Ethan said softly. "You led them to victory." Liara smiled, feeling the wind on her face and the power of her own abilities. "We did it," she said. Together. The celebration lasted for days. Citizens of Zytheria, once skeptical of the blind princess, now hailed her as a hero. Statues were proposed in her honor, and songs were sung about her courage. Ethan's role was also recognized, though some nobles still struggled with the idea of a human standing so close to the royal family. Despite the praise, Liara remained humble. She knew the battle was won, but the war against prejudice would continue. She spent time with Ethan, learning more about human culture and teaching him about her own. They became inseparable, a team respected by many and envied by some. One evening, under the light of Zytheria's twin moons, Liara spoke quietly to Ethan. "Do you really think they will ever accept us?" she asked, her fingers brushing his arm. Ethan smiled gently. "They already have to accept the truth. Strength and worth are not about sight, bloodline, or species. They are about courage, heart, and intelligence. We have shown them that, and they cannot ignore it." Liara felt hope rising in her chest. She had dreamed of being seen for who she truly was, and now she was. She had found someone who valued her for her mind and her heart, not her eyes or her title. The royal council eventually approached them, bowing deeply. "Princess Liara," the head elder said, "and Captain Ethan Carter, you have shown the people of Zytheria the true meaning of strength and leadership. The council recognizes your bond and the honor it brings to our planet." Liara's heart swelled. For the first time, she felt completely accepted. The whispers that had followed her all her life were replaced with respect and admiration. She looked at Ethan, who met her gaze with steady eyes, and she knew that together they could face anything the galaxy threw at them. Life in the palace changed after that. Liara was no longer the outcast princess. She became a symbol of hope, courage, and the power of the human spirit. Ethan continued to learn and grow alongside her, bridging the gap between humans and Zetherians. Their bond strengthened, not just in love but in shared purpose. And the people of Zytheria began to see that unity between different worlds was possible. Months later, a festival was held in the city to honor the heroes who had saved Zytheria. Citizens from all corners of the planet attended. Liara and Ethan stood together at the center, receiving applause and gratitude. Children reached out to touch their hands, inspired by the courage and kindness they represented. Liara raised her hand, feeling the crowd's energy around her. "We are all stronger when we see the value in each other," she said, her voice carrying across the plaza. "No one should be judged for what they lack, but for the courage and heart they bring." Ethan squeezed her hand, his presence steady and reassuring. "And no matter where we come from, together we can overcome anything," he said. As the twin moons rose over the city, casting a soft silver glow, Liara realized that her life had changed forever. She was no longer defined by blindness or by the doubts of others. She had courage, love, and a partner who believed in her completely. The galaxy, once filled with fear and prejudice, now seemed full of possibilities. The story of the blind princess and the human captain became legend, not just on Zytheria, but across the stars. It was told as a tale of hope, courage, and the power of seeing with the heart. And through it all, Liara and Ethan stood side by side, ready to face whatever new adventures awaited, proving that true strength and love could cross even the greatest of boundaries.